Hey everyone, it's Cathay. Welcome to Treehouse Blues. Today's episode occurs at age 5.5. We lived in San Antonio, Texas. It is called The Babysitter. Mommy, I'm finished. Can I play at Tracy's till bedtime? I pushed back from the supper table. Mommy stood shoveling spoonfuls of Gerber turkey into baby Julie's mouth. Yes, you may, but be sure and be back before dark. 3-year-old Mike struggled out of his seat. Patrick was still imprisoned in his high chair. Me too. All right, but Michael, you stay right with Cathay. She's in charge. Why? If you want to go, Michael goes with you. Okay, come on, Mike. I stomped up the dusty back road. Mike pattered quickly behind to catch up. He grabbed my hand to cross to the other side. Let's go on our swing, Cathay. I peered down and grinned in spite of myself. It really was our swing. The rope swing Daddy had made for our apple tree in Colorado Springs. But much to my disappointment, we found no great tree in our new yard in Texas. Tracy's yard across the road had one. With help from her daddy, we soon had our swing in motion again. Up ahead now we spied that dangling seat, ready to send us flying at whim, our own magic carpet ride. As one, our hands let go and we raced each other towards the prize. Hey, Cathay, slow poke today. Come on up here quick. Tracy. She stood at the top of the wooden stairs that wound up the side of her house. Just then, Mike zoomed past me and landed on the swing with a crow of delight. Darn. Come here. Tracy leaned over the rail. Let's play outside, Tracy. No. Mike began to cry. Okay, but I get to choose what we play. Once in the park's backyard, Tracy began barking orders. We're playing doctor, and keep away from that swing, Mike, 'cause you're the patient. Okay, but I get to choose. Well, we get to swing afterwards, right, Mikey? And I'm the doctor. Why? Because my daddy's a doctor. You can be the nurse. You can take his pulse. Okay. She marched over to Mike and steered him back to the steps. Lie down. Mike wiggled into place on the board, eyes darting back to mine. Good boy, Mike. Tracy grabbed his arm by the wrist and swung it up in the air. She scrutinized her own wrist and began counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 77, 100. Oh, no, doctor. This patient needs his temperature. Where's your doctor's kit, Tracy? Find something else. I scrutinized the ground for any possible doctor's tools. There, right in front of my nose, lay the perfect stick. I snapped off the remaining feathered branches. Okay, Mikey, sit up. Now stick out your tongue and say, ah. Mike complied. That is, until he saw the stick approaching and clamped his mouth shut. Tracy glowered at him. Hey, that's okay. Let's examine his ears. Hold still while I shine my special light in your ears. Tracy hustled around to the other side and locked his head at an angle. Ready, doctor? I held my trusty otoscope twig poised for duty. Looks dark in there. I cranked my head around the side of the stick as I probed further. Yow! Flinging my arm away, the stick flying, Mike wrested from Tracy's grip and tore down the road, shrieking all the while. You broke it! You broke his eardrum! You broke his eardrum! I scrambled after Mike. Stop! He flew like a banshee. I, on the other hand, moved through molasses. Why is her house so far away? My heart pounded in my ears. If I could just get to him before he gets to Mommy and Daddy. Up the back porch steps, Mike stumbled, clutching the side of his head in high-pitched hysteria. Frantically, I closed in on him, then froze below the steps as our house swallowed him up. I dragged my feet over the threshold. All the air inside me seeped languidly out and sidled along the floor like curls of mist. I stood a moment, listening to Mike's trailing cries becoming more and more muffled. I crept down the dusky hallway, the strange silence pressing in on me. A foreboding cry stopped me in my tracks. "Walt! I need you! Now!" Suddenly the world spun into fast motion again. Daddy's huge frame towered over me before disappearing in a flash down the hallway behind. Sparks zinged up and down my body. I wheeled around and raced after him. What if his eardrum is broken? Will he be deaf? Black fear raced towards me as I plowed through it. I skidded to a stop in the open doorway. Ahead of me stood Mike, Mommy molded around him on one side. Daddy leaned over his black doctor's bag. He pulled out his otoscope, a real one. I watched him flick a button and shine the tiny light with the green cone into his ear. The world stood still. No one looked at me. I held my breath. Daddy twisted his head and scrunched up eye this way and that. "Well, Mike, the good news is your eardrum is not punctured. Your ear canal is probably scratched. I have some special drops for you. However," Daddy turned his head and our eyes locked, "your sister has some explaining to do." Mommy and Mike raised their eyes. All three of them met my gaze with a cold, unblinking stare. A week had passed since Daddy forbade my visiting Tracy. I shuffled my feet down the loose gravel of our driveway. The sun's rays grew harsher the closer I got to her house. I hadn't seen her since the incident. At the edge of her dirt road, I stopped. My eyes drifted over to the swing, idly whispering to me. I forced myself to ignore it. Just in time, Tracy appeared. She strolled out of her back door, letting it slam behind her. "So, was I right? Did you break his eardrum?" "No." "How come you haven't come over?" "Because my mommy and daddy wouldn't let me." "Oh, do they think it was my fault? Did you tell them that?" "No." "Well, you better not have, because you did it, not me." My foot began jumping inside my shoe. "But you made us play doctor." So what?" She wrinkled her face at me and waited. Echoes of Mike's screams hovered between us. "You stuck the stick inside his ear." I knew she was right. I no longer wanted to be there. "Tracy, I want my swing back." "What?" "Tell your daddy to take it down." "But you don't have any place to hang it." "I know that. Just take it down." I turned on my heel and marched down the driveway. I did not look back. After lunch, I slipped out the back door. The sun beat down on my hair. Up the gravel driveway lumbered an impossibly tall grown-up in faded overalls. He eyed me intently all the way up. Tracy's daddy. I glanced back at the house, suddenly feeling small and very much alone. "Kathy." He stopped before me, clutching a bundle. I nodded, not bothering to correct him. "Here's your swing." Those long arms thrust his burden towards me. Why did he bring it to me? Why not Tracy? Why didn't Tracy just wait for me to come get it? My ears buzzed in the deafening silence between us. I raised my eyes. His eyebrows lifted, mouth twisted to the side. My mouth felt dry. I tried to think of something to say, but he was too big. My arms finally reached out. He shoved the heavy load between them, the large wooden plank with thick, rough rope twined around it. I stumbled but caught myself, not willing to let him see me fall. By the time I steadied myself and looked up, he had already turned and plodded his way down the driveway. I stood rooted to the ground, hugging my badge of shame as my eyes followed his retreating figure. I squeezed that board to my chest till the coils of rope burned into me, then squeezed some more. Finally, I trudged to the garage. I knelt beside the washer. Then I slid the swing along the wall, against the wall along the back, under the faucets, until I could no longer reach it. Thank you. Until next time, bye.